Hi everyone, if you missed my most recent videos, which were feeding my reptiles and feeding my amphibians, plus updates in both of those videos, then you've missed that I have been sick and also that I took a trip to Canada. And by sick, I don't mean I have COVID or anything. I mean like there's actually something wrong with me. There has been for 10 weeks now, and some tests have come back. All have been negative. I don't have answers yet, but when I do, I will share that information with you. But I actually went to Canada to see some cool pet YouTuber friends. You might recognize a couple of their animals in this video. But I went to Bird Kingdom and I went to a friend's wedding. I've included some pictures from Bird Kingdom here so you guys can see that. But in today's video, I'm going to be answering your guys' questions that you've left for me on YouTube and also on Patreon. I'm going to include clips of my pets and also some of the cool things I saw when I was in Canada, including at Bird Kingdom. And I appreciate that you guys are so patient with me because filming and, making videos has not been easy with being sick. In fact, most things have not been easy with being sick. So this is a really great way for me to still be able to put videos out and also still be alive. So here we go. So Carly on Patreon had a bunch of questions, and because they're a patron supporter, they're going to get all their questions answered first. So number one, who was your first celebrity crush and who is your current? As a kid, I remember liking Hugh Jackman because of Wolverine. I also remember liking both the male and female lead in The Mummy, thinking they were both just glorious. And I also liked, and this is when I was a kid, but this is when I was a teenager and I saw Pulp Fiction for the first time. There's a character in Pulp Fiction that's in a relationship with Bruce Willis. I cannot remember her name, but I thought she was just the most darling thing in the world. I don't know why. But yeah, so those are some I had in the past. I don't actually currently have any. It's usually whoever pops up on TikTok for me, which are usually actors in current television shows. But right now I don't have any. What are your favorite things about keeping reptiles? Well, first and foremost, I love just having reptiles. I love working with my disabled leopard geckos. That's what I feel most passionate about in this life. I love, love, love building enclosures. I wish that it was, not as expensive and time consuming to do so because I would do it all the time. I did it for years straight and now I haven't done it in a while and I really miss it. What other hobbies do you have? Really, I just like to write. I like to write. I like to watch film and television and critique them. I like to hang out with my family. I love to swim. I love to walk outside in the garden. I love to look at butterflies and insects. In fact, if you follow my personal Instagram, a lot of the photos I've posted have been just cool bugs I've been finding outside. But yeah, I don't have too many hobbies because reptile keeping and that's also my job takes up a lot of that time. But I've always loved to write. I've written a book. I've just never published it. I like writing poetry. I write in my journal every day. It's just really therapeutic for me and also really fun. But also here is the reptile that might give you a clue about where I was. And here's another. Okay, moving on. If you could go anywhere on vacation, where would it be and why? Right now, I really want to be where water is. In fact, most of the time, I want to be where water is. I absolutely love the water. I feel the most alive when I'm in a lake or the ocean or a river or just somewhere where there's water. So honestly, anywhere where there's water, I'd like to be. I was supposed to go to the beach on my birthday, but having been sick all this time, in fact, I was vomiting 2 days before my birthday. So I didn't really get to do anything. I didn't get to go to the beach. I got to have a nice little sit down with my family and the guy I'm seeing, which was really nice. But yeah, it's been a tough time. So I would love to go near water. What's the most outrageous thing you believe now? Apparently that women deserve rights to their own bodily autonomy. I don't think I need to say more about that. Edie and A asks, how have you been feeling? And if you could only choose one, what species or animal is your favorite? I've been feeling pretty awful, especially since, I have tests done and they come back with no answers. It can be really, really taxing mentally. And then there's also just my body not being healthy part that's, also not great. So how I've been feeling, not well, although the Canada trip was such a bright spot that I really needed. And so I'm really grateful for that. And if I could choose only one, what species/animal that I have is my favorite? Leopard gecko. I mean, I feel I have to say that because I have 30 something of them, leopard gecko. What are your go-to plants for bioactive enclosures? Well, back when I did live plants, I used pothos, philodendron, photonia, probably a couple different species of fern. I don't know, you'd have to go watch the videos. It's been a while since I've done live planted, but my issue with live planted is like the plants change over time, which is a good thing, like if they're thriving, but if like you lose a few leaves, then there's like an open spot in the enclosure, and I'm very type A about like how an enclosure looks. So when a plant changes or a plant dies or something happens like that, or it gets uprooted, it drives me nuts. So I can't look at an enclosure that's like changing often, if that makes sense. So that's why I stopped using live plants. The thing is, I love live plants. Like, I have live plants in my pet room and my bedroom, and I would love to have them in the enclosures again. I think that I just needed like some time to learn how to adapt better to a changing environment. So maybe one day I'll try it again. This question asks if my White's tree frogs are super loud at night. In general, my White's tree frogs are not that loud. Their calls are loud, so when they are calling, you will hear it. However, mine only call like maybe a couple times a day, if that, and it doesn't last very long, and it's usually at like 11 in the morning for whatever reason. They must hear something, or I don't know, something just inspires them to be loud. A lot of times at night, if they're making noise, it's because they're like jumping on top of each other, or like I'm about to feed them and they're just like overexcited and everybody's moving around. Is Coco still doing okay after having parasites? Also say hi to Kiwi for me. I'm feeding frogs today, so I will in fact say hi to Kiwi for you. And yes, Coco has not had any issues since, so I'm really fortunate and really happy about that. What reptile do you consider to be your most challenging? Do you have a favorite? P.S. Hope you are feeling better. Thank you. My most challenging reptile has been Franklin, not in terms of like his species, but just because he has had ongoing health issues, and also my enigmas, but again, that's not because of their species. My leopard geckos in general are very easy. It's just my more high maintenance ones because they have, you know, like neurological issues and health issues. In terms of like which species has been the most challenging, I'm not really sure like how to answer. A lot of the challenges I've had with like my animals has come from like health issues. Maybe my White's tree frogs because they had parasites when they got here, and Barry keeps giving himself nose rub. And I've seen a lot of people also have issues with White's tree frogs. I also see them labeled as like a beginner frog. I really don't think that's the case, to be honest. I think they're a bit more intermediate than people let on. But I guess if I had to pick a challenging, oh, you said reptile. Well, okay, I'm sorry, I gave an amphibian. I don't think that my reptiles in general are very challenging. I think other people keep more challenging species, and any challenges I've had have just been due to their own individual health issues or like a neurological issue or something like that. And no, I don't have a favorite. I'm really bad at picking favorites for anything, and especially when it comes to my own like reptile kids, no way. Would you consider owning African dwarf frogs again? Also, what is your opinion on African clawed frogs? One, I love African clawed frogs. I would like to have them someday. However, I don't want to do water changes anymore. Like, I'm getting tired of the upkeep of aquariums compared to like a terrarium or like a reptile enclosure. So would I own African dwarf frogs or African clawed frogs? Maybe not, just because of the water upkeep, like the water maintenance. I think I would have to wait for one of my like giant tanks, like for one of my axolotls to pass away or something like that before I were to get another aquatic setup. But even then, I might not. With having so many reptiles and amphibians, what are some of your most helpful money-saving tips? My most helpful money-saving tip is don't have reptiles and amphibians. I'm sorry, that is literally the best answer that I can offer. It is so expensive, especially if you do it the right way and you have very large enriching enclosures, or if you want to have as many reptiles as I have and still make sure you're giving all of them the best they deserve. It's very expensive. You know, if you're trying to save money, this is not the hobby for you. My one question is, if I end up doing bioactive enclosures, then how do I make sure the cleanup crew don't escape? Really, as long as you're not like filling the substrate up to the door or filling the substrate up to like the vents on the exoterra, you're good to go. The main issue I've had with cleanup crews is them drowning themselves in water dishes. So make sure if you use a water dish, you put it away from like your background. So if they can climb the background, don't lean your water dish against the background. Don't have like a branch going into your water bowl, because they'll just climb up that and drown. And you'd think that they would just climb back out the branch, but no, they drown themselves, and it's very unfortunate. So you shouldn't have too much of an issue as long as you're not allowing them too close to the doors, or like a branch that goes right up to the door. If you keep everything like an inch away from the door, you should be fine. Tips on getting new baby Leos to eat. My best recommendation is to leave a bowl of insects in the enclosure, like a ceramic bowl that the gecko can access but the insects can't climb out. And then also, don't mess with your gecko, don't handle them, don't move the enclosure, don't redecorate the enclosure for 2 weeks. You can even offer food on tongs if you think that would entice them more, but my best recommendation is to not fuss with them, because if you do that, it could stress them out and they could refuse to eat. I have a video all about this. I will leave linked on the screen and down below. If money wasn't an issue, what would your dream animal or setup be? My dream right now, currently, is to have all of the leopard geckos upgraded to like 36 by 18 by 18 enclosures for the abled ones, with deep heat projector, UVB, or a halogen and UVB, some sort of like overhead heating, substrate and background done up. Like, I want them all to look like zoo grade enclosures, but for every single reptile I have, and right now the Leos are like the only ones that don't have that. I would also like to upgrade my blue tongue skink, my Uromastyx, and my bearded dragon one more time to a 6-foot enclosure rather than a 4-foot enclosure. And most importantly, I would love all of the reptiles to be in the same space. So I would love to like buy a house and have like a big, nice finished basement where they all are. Because right now I have my reptiles in 3 different rooms, and I also have an enclosure that's like sitting in the edge of the hallway. Like, I would really love to just have everything in one space, and I would love for all of the enclosures to match. So like all black or glass enclosures, if that makes sense. That is my dream. Once I achieve that, I have no idea what else I'll want. Hopefully nothing, but that's not how it works. But that is my dream, and I have been slowly working towards that. Believe you me, it is like playing Tetris, pet enclosure Tetris, and it's also very expensive. And, if YouTube paid a lot more, it would already be done, but that's not the case. So everyone's comfortable and content and good where they are right now. It's mostly me that wants everything to keep changing and to do one more set of upgrades for the Leos and one more for the big animals downstairs. But yeah, that will come in time. I've got things in the works. Just, gotta wait, gotta be patient, gotta save. To be honest, once I have that dream achieved, where I have just like this glorious giant reptile room with all the enclosures matching, all of them having really gorgeous backgrounds and naturalistic elements and yada yada, once I have all of that achieved, I will start a reptile rescue. I'm already in the process and have been for a while of looking at making Justice Animal Friends 501c3 sanctuary, because that's what I'm already doing. So not having the 501c3, I think people don't take me as seriously, but I would love to do what I'm doing now. So keep disabled and rescued special needs, etc. reptiles and amphibians, and also be able to take in rescues and rehome them out, because I already have like 70 something reptiles. I mean, I can't just keep keeping all of them. So I think I would take in like certain, Craigslist or rescue situations and heal them and rehome them, because I have a really great vet and I know it would just work out so well. But this has been something I've been planning for a long time. It's not going to be something that happens overnight, but that is hopefully in the future. But my current goal is just to get all the animals I have right now to be in the best conditions that can be provided, like heat from above, all naturalistic elements, bigger enclosures. Like, I want to be this above the standards, and then once I feel like all of that is achieved, then I can start to do rescues and things like that, where I can rescue and adopt out instead of rescue and keep. That's not to say that I wouldn't rescue and keep. Like, if someone were surrendering an enigma, it would just stay with me, period. If it was a disabled reptile I didn't think I could trust to go into someone else's hands, it would stay with me. But there's like certain cases where you can get like a malnourished gecko, or one that has an infection, or one that has metabolic bone disease, and you can heal them and then rehome them to people who are going to be able to continue to care for them. I think that I would definitely like to do that. But when it comes to certain cases like enigmas or other neurological conditions or serious birth defects like Rago, I would just keep them. Thoughts on an axolotl for an 11-year-old? Are they super hard to keep alive? I don't think axolotls are hard to keep alive, but I also don't think you should approach pet keeping as, is it hard to keep alive? I also don't think that an 11-year-old should be responsible for any living creature. So that means that it would ultimately fall on your hands. I'm assuming you're the parent writing this. Or an older sibling, it would ultimately become your responsibility. So I think you would have to do all of the research, you would have to do all of the financial, enclosure buying and any sort of upgrades that are needed or vet care. I think that should all, be your responsibility. It's something that you have to be comfortable with, because an 11-year-old is not going to be able to do that. And to be honest, most children get bored of their pets. So just, something to keep in mind. And number 2, how do you keep your feeder insects alive and not smelling? I have a few videos that I can include down below and on screen about how I take care of my feeder insects, but I don't overfeed them. I offer plenty of ventilation, and I don't keep crickets. I think that that's one huge bonus of not having smells, because there's no crickets. I rescued 2 leopard geckos. Male seems to be doing great. Female is taking more time to come around, it seems. He eats daily. She usually only eats every other day, but the last few feedings she goes 2 to 3 days not wanting to eat. I offer her dubious soup worms and 2 others I can't remember off the top of my head. Thoughts? So I'm going to include some resources down below for you. One, including talking about cohabbing leopard geckos, because if you rescued them and they were cohabbed, this could definitely be a problem. Another thing to look out for is ovulation and egg laying in the female. That can make them want to eat less. But also, I'm not sure how much they weigh or if they're malnourished or anything, but leopard geckos don't need to eat every day, so it's quite possible she just doesn't want to eat every day, because leopard geckos don't need to eat that often, and this can lead to obesity. So something to keep in mind. You did say you rescued them, so I'm not sure how underweight they are, but just something to keep in mind. How much do you normally spend on one habitat for a gecko? Also, how much do you spend on food for all your pets? I'd say it's probably $150, maybe a bit more. And then as for the habitat, I really couldn't say. I usually do upgrades in bunches, especially if it comes to the leopard geckos, so I really couldn't say, but it's a lot. I have a video about how much I spent on my last upgrades I will include on screen. What is a tip to help smaller reptile YouTubers and content creators? I made a video about this already, and I will include it on screen and down below. What does just a day in your life look like with all your animals? Well, it's usually pretty chill. The daytime, a lot of the reptiles are sleeping, and I do a lot of chores at nighttime. I feed the diurnal lizards during the day. I might do some cleaning of enclosures during the day, but for the most part, everything gets done in the evening. I can make a video all about this. I imagine it would take a lot longer to explain in a Q&A than just to show you, so I think I'll make a video about it when I'm feeling better. Can I ask about you as opposed to animals? Yes, you can. If you had to name a human child right this moment, lives depended on it, what would you name them? I would choose something gender neutral, probably, like Riley or Logan or Dylan. Favorite shape of pasta? Probably angel hair or elbow, because that mac and cheese, is delicious. Have you ever read a book that changed your life? I feel like every book I've read, maybe 90% of them, have in some way changed my life, but that's just because I'm a very emotional lady and I take everything to heart. So yes, but also I couldn't just name one. What type of animals would you like to keep besides reptiles? I know you had rats, my favorite animal, as I have 18. Holy cow, 18. But what other animals would you keep if given the chance? Well, I have amphibians and reptiles. I don't know, to be honest. I feel pretty happy with what I have right now. I really would like to have another dog in the future, but that's pretty much it. I don't have any desire to have any small pets like rodents or birds. I don't have any desire to have fish tanks. As I was saying earlier, I'm kind of tired of aquatics and water changes. So I'm pretty happy. There are some species I would like to keep, and I can leave a video about that on screen and down below. But other than that, I'm pretty content. I'm about to go on vacation for 5 days, so what should I do about my leopard gecko? Well, by the time you're watching this, if you watch this at all, you're probably already back from vacation. However, for those who have never gone on vacation or don't know what to do, 5 days is not a very long time. You could feed your leopard gecko the day you leave and the day you come back, and that would still be enough times in a week that you wouldn't even have to worry about having someone come to feed them. The really great thing about reptiles is that they're low maintenance, and you don't have to constantly supervise them or make sure they're always being checked in on. You can leave them for a few days and they'll probably be the exact same as when you left. Just make sure that your thermostat and heating equipment is functioning properly. Make sure that the humid hide has been moistened. Make sure they have water. Make sure they've been fed. Make sure that the enclosure is clean so you come home and, everything's tip-top. But other than that, leaving a reptile or an amphibian for vacation is very easy compared to leaving birds or rats or dogs or cats, things like that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to get back to normal content soon. I have a couple more doctor's appointments in the next couple weeks. Hopefully those will glean some better answers and I'll be able to start getting better here soon so that I can return to you guys with normal content. But I appreciate your guys' patience. I will keep you updated. Let me know if there's anything in particular that you want to see down below. And with that, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye! And a special thank you from me, Benjamin, and the rest of the animals here at Disco's Animal Friends to our patrons and channel members.